Hello everyone, my name is Elizabeth Neal, and today I'm going to be talking about what I have learned in my teaching kindergarten class and why kindergarten is so important. So, in week 1, some of the main topics we discussed were our Flipgrids, what do you remember about kindergarten, the Ontario context, the foundation, and the goals of kindergarten. First, we began by creating a Flipgrid, which is a short video diary of who we are and some facts about our names. This was important so that we could get to know our fellow classmates, seeing as we won't be able to meet anybody anytime soon. We were then placed into breakout rooms, where we were asked what we remember most about kindergarten. Some of the most common things that my breakout room discussed was playtime, whether it was outside or inside, carpet time, usually for reading, lots and lots of toys, nap time, show and tell, and tracing letters so we could learn how to write. Then we went on to discuss the Ontario context. Years ago, kindergarten was only a half a day, where the early childhood educators worked in childcare. It was the Ontario certified teachers that taught kindergarten. But in 2014, they got rid of the half days and made kindergarten into full days. With this, they then had both Ontario certified teachers, as well as early childhood educators in the classroom. This partnership between the OCT and the ECE is vital in the children's success. We then went on to discuss the foundation of kindergarten. There are 4 frames when learning the Ontario's pedagogy for the early years. Those 4 foundations being belonging, well-being, engagement, and expression, all vital in order for a student to succeed. There are 4 main goals of kindergarten. The first is to establish a strong foundation for learning in the early years. The second is to help children make a smooth transition from home, childcare, or preschool setting to school settings. The third is to allow children to reap the many proven benefits of learning through relationships and through play and inquiry. The last is to set children on a path of lifelong learning and nurture competencies that they will need to thrive in the world of today and tomorrow. In week 2, some of the main topics we discussed were our introductions, outside experiences, and the importance of flow of the day, self-regulation, the third teacher, educators, innovation, the student, and play-based learning. We began the class by introducing ourselves, by sharing our names and the location of where we were zooming from. We then discussed our outside experiences. Everyone in the class was to go outside for a few minutes and think through the eyes of a kindergarten. We were then asked what we saw, heard, and thought. People came up with many great but very different answers. This exercise helped us to get into the mindset of a younger kindergartner student. Having a routine or flow of the day is vital for young students. Establishing a routine with expectations is important so that the student knows what is expected of them daily. We then discussed self-regulation and the 4 zones of regulation. These zones are put in place to help the students work towards problem-solving skills. There is a blue zone, which is when someone is feeling bored, hurt, exhausted, sick, tired, or sad. The green zone is when someone is feeling calm, good, proud, okay, and ready to learn or content. The yellow zone is when someone is feeling frustrated, anxious, or worried, excited, silly, overwhelmed, or scared. The last is the red zone, which is when someone is feeling aggressive, mean, terrified, mad, angry, or they feel like yelling. Each zone has problem-solving tools that a student can do when they are feeling these ways. For the blue zone, the problem-solving skill would be to take time to stretch. For the green zone, it would be to drink some water. For the yellow, it would be to take some deep breaths. And the last one would be for the red zone, which would to just be take a break. We then talked about how the environment can act as a third teacher for students. Students learn through what they're surrounded by. However, I will discuss this in further detail a little further into this presentation. Educators are some of the most important people in a young and developing student, especially at the kindergarten level. Educators are the ones who facilitate the learning through activities. They are there to support the children in their educational journey. We then discussed innovation, which is important as every student learns in different ways. Some examples of innovation would be empowerment, empathy, problem solving, risk-taking, networking, observing, creating, resiliency, and reflecting. The student is the most important part of the equation. They are all capable of success. However, not all may succeed in the same ways. Some may take longer to get to the end goal or take a different route. This is where the 4 foundations of learning that were touched upon earlier come into place again. We then ended week 2 by discussing play-based learning. This is the best way for kindergartner students to learn, seeing as they are so young. There are 5 stages in a child's make-believe play. Those would be first scripts, then roles in action, then roles with rules and beginning scenarios, then matured roles, planned scenarios, and symbolic props, and then the last being dramatization, multiple themes, multiple roles, and director's play. In week 3, the main topics we discussed were Reggio Emilia's workshop and what our ideal kindergarten classroom would look like. We were placed into breakout rooms and asked what our ideal kindergarten classroom would look like. This is the image we drew, where inside we included a sensory area where the children could play hands-on, which included a sand pit, water, painting, and crafts. We also had a carpet area for reading time. There were blocks right beside the carpet for kids to play in their spare time. There was also a large window with plants, tables for work, a bookshelf, and an imagination center for dress up and play. Outside we had a playground, a teepee and an inukshuk, a sitting circle made out of trunks, a sandbox, a garden, a boat, and then a shed that included all the outdoor toys and balls. We then watched a video on Reggio Emilia's workshop, which made us think about these 8 different aspects that we should include in our classroom. These 8 aspects were aesthetics, active learning, collaboration, transparency, bringing the outdoors in, flexibility, reciprocity, and relationship. For aesthetics, we added a light room where students can manipulate or control the light. We called this the mood room. This could include colored lights or music. We also included as much natural light as possible and decorative walls with vines or plants and a chalkboard wall where students can draw whatever they want. The teacher could then take pictures and post the changes of the chalk wall throughout the year. For active learning, we added natural manipulatives that are from outside, different pieces of bark, twigs, stones, etc. And using different materials for the makeup of the classroom, such as different woods, plastics, and fabrics. For collaboration, we added a camera to mount on the wall where kids can record their performances or plays that they have put on, as well as a puppet box so that students can create their own little shows. For transparency, we added large windows and lots of natural lights, as well as clear plastics for chairs and furniture. In order to bring the outside in, we decided to put a skylight where the students can look outside and see the sky and weather, as well as the changing seasons. This is as far as my group got for our ideas. However, if I were to continue, for flexibility, I would change the decorations in the classroom to match the seasons. I would also have materials and furniture that were light and easy for the children to move and rearrange the classroom on their own. For reciprocity, I would include an agenda wall outside the classroom for the students and the parents to see. Last, for relationships, I would include several areas where students can engage in group work, to get to know their fellow classmates. The short assignment was by far my favorite, and it helped us as teachers to realize what parts of the classroom are important in order for a child to successfully learn. This concludes my presentation. Overall, I have learned many new things about why kindergarten is so important. I mean, it is the beginning of their educational journey in the school system. Thank you for listening.